Okay, let's start with a quick word association. If I say the name Brigid, what's the first thing that actually pops into your head, honestly?
For most people, I'd bet it's St. Brigid's cross, the one woven from reeds.
Right, that or maybe something from mythology.
Exactly, the Celtic goddess. You think
Yeah.
fire, poetry, ancient Ireland, it all feels very
Well,
historical.
it feels dusty. That's the word.
Oh,
Like something in a museum. And, usually for these deep dives, we're looking at hard data or new tech or psychology.
right.
So I can imagine some of you listening are probably seeing the title for this and thinking, why are we spending time on an old Irish myth?
And that's a totally fair question. But here's the pivot, and it's why I was so excited to dig into this. The source material we're looking at today, it's not a history book.
Not at all.
It's not a collection of prayers or folklore. It presents this idea of Brigid, not as a deity to be worshipped, but as a living intelligence.
That phrase, living intelligence, I have to say, that just stopped me in my tracks when I first read it. It reframes this whole thing. It's less like a religion and more like an operating system for humans.
That is a perfect analogy, actually. Think of it as a psychological framework. The text basically argues that this intelligence governs how we function when we are at our absolute best.
So when we're not burning out.
Exactly. When we're not paralyzed by perfectionism and when we're actually taking our ideas and making them, well, real.
So that's our mission today. We're going to unpack this framework. Look at how it talks about coherence, sustainability, and creativity. And honestly, reading this, it didn't feel like a spell book. It felt like a manual for how not to have a breakdown in the 21st century.
It is surprisingly practical. And I want to be really clear up front. This is not about magic. The source is very specific. It calls this mechanics.
The mechanic.
It's about the mechanics of going from I have an idea to I have a sustained reality. How do you keep the engine going without it just burning up?
Which is the question. It's a question everyone I know is asking. So, okay, let's get into it. The text starts by saying what this isn't. It says, Brigid is not a distant goddess.
Right. Instead, it says she moves wherever coherence is restored.
Coherence. That's such a specific word. Not happiness, not success. Coherence. Why that word, do you think?
Well, think about the opposite. Incoherence. That's when your actions don't match your values. When you're just scattered, fragmented.
Uh-huh.
This text suggests that this intelligence is the force that clicks things back into alignment. It actually calls her a bridge.
Yes, I circled that part so many times. It's the bridge between, was it, intuition and craft,
Or feeling and form.
which is the struggle for any creative person,
Right.
Or any leader.
Oh, absolutely. Think about how often those two things are disconnected. You have the intuition, that flash of an idea, the gut feeling you need to do something. That's one side of the river.
And the other side is the logistics, the actual work.
The craft, the form, the execution. The text says this intelligence governs that precise moment when inner knowing becomes usable in the world.
That word usable is doing a lot of work there.
It's everything. Because inner knowing that isn't usable. That's just anxiety. It's just daydreaming. So many people have incredible intuition, but they get stuck on the bridge. This framework says Brigid is the capacity to actually cross it.
And it makes a distinction I think is so crucial for anyone feeling burnt out by, hustle culture. It says it's not inspiration alone, but inspiration that can be sustained.
Yes, we are addicted to the spark, aren't we? The launch day, the aha moment.
Totally.
But the text argues the spark is the easy part. The real intelligence is in the sustainability.
Yeah.
It asks, can you keep this fire burning without the whole thing melting down?
Which brings us to the central metaphor of the whole text, the hearth. And again, that sounds so cozy and old-fashioned.
Knitting by the fire, yeah. But the definition here is so rigorous. It says the hearth is where energy is regulated.
Less of a fireplace, more of a control center.
Exactly, a regulator valve. It determines the pressure.
And it lays out what I started calling the Goldilocks rules, the two extremes that everyone will recognize. First, too much fire consumes.
And we all know what that feels like. That is burnout, running on pure cortisol and adrenaline. You're getting stuff done, maybe, but you are burning the furniture to keep the house warm. You're consuming your own structure.
And the other side, too little fire stagnates.
That's the freeze response. Procrastination, writer's block, just staring at a blank page. Nothing cooks, nothing transforms.
So this intelligence is the mechanism that maintains the correct flame. But here's where it gets really nuanced. It says the fire is clarifying, that it burns away confusion without burning what is real. What does that mean to you?
I think it's a profound way to think about clarity. I mean, usually when we try to solve a problem, we use destructive fire. We get angry, we get frantic, we blow up a relationship because it's not working.
I hate my job, so I'm going to rage quit with no plan.
Yeah.
That's destructive fire.
That's it, exactly.
Right.
But a clarifying fire that burns away the noise, the doubt, the distraction, the things you said yes to that you shouldn't have. But it leaves the core of what's real intact. It reveals what matters without scorching the earth.
There is a line in this section that, for me, is the single most important sentence in this entire text. I just want everyone to really hear this. You are not meant to burn yourself to keep something sacred alive.
It hits hard, doesn't it?
It's the opposite of everything we're taught. We're told that sacrifice is how you show devotion. If you're not suffering for your art or for your startup or your family, do you even really care?
And this text just completely refutes that. It frames it as a misunderstanding of, like, basic physics. If you are burning yourself, your health, your sanity to keep a project going, the fire is out of control. That isn't devotion, that's just self-destruction.
The text calls for sustainable devotion.
That distinction is everything. Sacrifice means you're giving up something you can't get back. Devotion is renewable. It's care, it's attention, it's consistency. It says, she is the intelligence that keeps creativity from collapsing into exhaustion. If you are collapsing, you're not in alignment with this intelligence.
And the result of getting that balance right is that creativity stops being chaotic.
Which is coherence. You're not swinging from I'm a genius to I'm a total failure. You're just working. The flame is steady.
This moves us into how this framework sees the work itself. The source gives a list of holy acts, and it's not what you'd expect. It's cooking, healing, speaking, building, and creating.
Very normal, very human things. Stuff we do every single day.
But, and this is a huge but, there's a condition. They are only holy when done without self-betrayal.
And that is a high bar.
It's an incredibly high bar. I mean, think about it. How many emails do you send a day that feel like a tiny act of self-betrayal? How many times do you say yes when you mean no?
The text argues that the second you introduce that self-betrayal, the act loses its power, its coherence. It just becomes a chore. It becomes draining.
And this connects to what it says about drama. I love this part. Nothing needs to be dramatized to be divine.
Yes. We live in an economy that rewards drama. If something's important, it has to be loud. We have to perform how busy we are, how much we're struggling.
The grind. You have to post about the grind.
Right. But this intelligence suggests that drama is actually a sign of misalignment. When things are truly coherent and efficient, they are often quiet. The text says Brigid does not demand belief. She responds to alignment.
That's fascinating. It's not about faith, it's about behavior.
It's about removing the contradictions in your own life. Stop saying one thing and doing another. When you do that, coherence just naturally increases.
The text even applies this to relationships. It talks about honesty, but not the brutal honesty people use as an excuse to be cool.
No, it's honesty that does not wound. And it says truth should be spoken at the correct temperature.
There's that temperature metaphor again. It's everywhere.
It's the whole framework. If the fire's too hot, the truth burns the other person. They get defensive, they shut down.
If it's too low, you're just avoiding it. Stagnation.
Exactly. The correct temperature lets the truth actually land, to be metabolized. It heals instead of harms.
And sometimes that means not saying anything at all. It says she teaches when to let silence complete the message.
Which requires so much confidence. Insecurity over-explains. Coherence is comfortable with silence. It trusts the truth to stand on its own.
Okay, so we have this regulated energy, we have integrity, but what about when things break? We all get sick, we fail. How does this living intelligence handle healing?
This is where the text shifts from the fire metaphor to something that sounds almost biological. It says that healing requires patience, not urgency.
Which is the absolute opposite of how I approach it. If I get sick, it's like a missed deadline. I have to be better by Tuesday.
We treat our bodies like machines that just need a quick fix. But the text gives this incredible insight, and it aligns perfectly with what we know about the nervous system. It says, the body repairs itself when it feels safe enough to tell the truth.
Safe enough to tell the truth. That is such a beautiful and strange phrase. What does that practically mean?
Well, think about it physiologically. When you're in high-stress fight or flight, your body prioritizes immediate survival over long-term repair. Digestion slows down, your immune system is suppressed. You're just trying to survive the next 5 minutes.
You're in lockdown mode.
Exactly. To heal, the system has to drop its guard. It has to feel safe enough to reveal what's actually broken. If you are rushing your healing, you're just adding stress, you're signaling danger, and the body stays in survival mode.
So this safety is created through steadiness.
Steadiness, not a miracle cure, not some crazy biohack, just consistency, showing up for yourself day after day.
It defines her strength as endurance without hardness. I really struggle with that idea. Usually to endure something hard, I feel like I have to armor up, become rigid.
We all do. We calcify. But the text argues that's a brittle strength. You get too hard, and eventually you just shatter. The real resilience is enduring without becoming hard. Staying soft enough to feel, but strong enough not to break.
It reminds me of the line about transformation. She does not force transformation, she warms it into readiness.
Yes. Think about a flower bud. You can't pry it open with your fingers. You'll destroy it. All you can do is provide the warmth and the light and let it open on its own time.
But we try to use pliers on ourselves all the time. I have to be a new person by Monday.
And it never lasts. This intelligence suggests that if you just create the right conditions, that warmth, that safety, that lack of self-betrayal transformation is inevitable. It happens on its own. You don't have to force it.
So let's loop this back to the craft side of the bridge. If we stop forcing and start warming, how does that change how we actually work?
The text says that where this intelligence is present, vision gains structure. It stops being just a vague dream and becomes a blueprint.
And insight becomes skill.
That's the good kind of grind. It's not just having the idea, it's practicing it until it's in your muscle memory.
There's that line about poetry I loved. Poetry under her guidance is not ornament, it is precision made beautiful.
And you could apply that to anything. To elegant code, to a well-designed building, even to a spreadsheet.
A beautiful spreadsheet is a thing of absolute joy.
It is, because it's precise. It functions perfectly. It's not about being decorative. It's about functions so elegant it becomes beautiful. That's craft.
Now, unlike our modern world, which is obsessed with linear growth up and to the right, always, the text says, this wisdom is cyclical.
She understands timing. She knows when to wait, when to tend, and when to act. This is so important for anyone trying to build something that lasts. You cannot be in harvest mode 365 days a year. You'll deplete the soil.
But we panic in the winter, don't we? We think if we're not constantly producing, we're failing.
And that panic leads right back to the too much fire situation. This framework asks you to respect the dormant periods. They are part of the intelligence. That's where you regenerate.
It also talks about renewal, but it makes this key distinction. Not dramatic rebirth, but continuity that survives, change intact.
Right, back to the anti-drama theme. We love the idea of the rebrand, the new me, the phoenix rising from the ashes. It's great for social media.
We want the makeover montage.
We do. But this intelligence says real power is continuity. Staying yourself even as the world shifts around you. What is coherent does not need to be reborn repeatedly.
That is just such a relief to hear. The idea that I don't have to reinvent myself every 6 months.
You just have to maintain coherence. Keep the flame steady.
The source mentions she appears most clearly at thresholds.
Yeah, moments of transition, endings that are clean, beginnings that are quiet.
Beginnings that are quiet. That runs so counter to everything we're told. We want the loud launch party, the big announcement.
But think about the projects in your own life that have actually lasted. Did they start with a bang, or did they start with a quiet decision? A moment of clarity. The text says she guards crossings so nothing essential is lost.
So as you move from one phase to the next, you don't lose yourself in the process.
You bring your essential self across that bridge.
Okay, so if we zoom all the way out, what we have here is a framework that asks us to regulate our energy, to value consistency over drama, to avoid self-betrayal, and to approach our work with this precise cyclical care.
And it creates a life, as the text says, that is warm enough to live in and clear enough to trust.
Clear enough to trust. That's the metric right there. Can you trust your own life, your own reactions?
And notice it says she doesn't belong to the past. She belongs wherever coherence is protected. That feels like a modern imperative. We live in a world that is designed to fragment our attention. Protecting coherence is a radical act.
The source ends with this very simple summary. Her gift is simple and exact. Keep the flame steady, keep the work true, keep yourself intact.
So simple. And so incredibly difficult.
Keep yourself intact. If you take nothing else away from this deep dive, I think that's it. You are no use to anyone, your work, your family, if you're in pieces.
That's the bottom line. The intelligence of Brigid isn't about power, it's the intelligence of staying whole.
So, here's the thought for everyone listening. We're not asking you to build a shrine or anything, but just maybe look at your own hearth right now, your own energy. Is your fire consuming you, or has it gone out?
And I'd leave you with that idea of thresholds. The source says she appears at transitions. And a lot of you are probably in some kind of transition right now, a new job, a relationship ending, just a shift in who you are.
Or just the transition of trying to get through another chaotic year?
Right. And the question is, are you trying to force some dramatic rebirth? Are you trying to burn everything down to make way for the new? Or could you allow for a quiet beginning?
Are you rushing a crossing that needs to be guarded? Are you waiting for the big explosion when maybe what you really need is just the steady warmth? That's what we want you to mull over.
It's been a real pleasure exploring this.
Keep the flames steady. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.